Welcome back to your Daily Dose. My name is Robert, here with my cousin, my friend, Nicole, and she's a licensed family and marriage therapist.
Marriage and family.
Get MFT, not FMT.
LMFT. There
Yeah,
you go.
marriage and family therapist. And we were talking in our last session a little about a student, Terry Van Bibber, who's done wonderful work within the Inside Out program. And she had this lovely phrase she used when she did her presentation as Joy in front of this huge crowd, where she told me right before we went on stage, because I introduced her, I wouldn't be here without you. Um, that was incredibly humbling to me. And I wonder about that for, for you in your role as a therapist, and really, I guess, as a role for anybody in a role who is a connector or a friend or an advocate. What is the importance of somebody of having a mentor, having somebody to lean into? Because I guess we'd be alone if we weren't. We'd be isolated if we didn't have them.
Yeah, I think one of the, I think to be in a position or in a role or to identify as a guide, you know, to to others in these profound ways is like one of the most rewarding experiences to have. I
Is
think it's
that
what
why you is that why you are in the what you do? Because you're that for people.
yeah. I mean, yes. Ultimately, yes. I think it's a bigger, it's a much bigger conversation than for today. But ultimately, um, it aligns very much with my values. Yeah, I one of my highest values is honesty, and I get to be in the role of someone that gets to ask the really hard things or invite people to wonder or think about or frame things in ways that, you know, a family member or a friend would have a harder time doing. I get to support people to really honestly kind of check in and show up fully and honestly, and that's really big for me. And then connection and compassion are my other high values, and so just to be relating and to supporting people to like to be in that is big for me.
That's great. So, like I mentioned, I had you take a look at Terry's conversation beforehand. Was there anything else that jumped out at you about what she said, and maybe did it mix with any of your, experience in the program?
um yeah, I think this idea of putting putting some of the parts of yourself or your feelings or your experiences and externalizing them through the process of the character development and the scenes, she mentioned it really broke some barriers for her, and I think that there's a lot to be said for that. And you know I I'm in my own writing, I'm in this place in my life where I have a lot of wonderings about how did I get where I'm at, and what is the story I've been hooked into. And I'm really wanting to explore the journey and I like and find it through this process. I'm really That's kind of where it's at for me. And I don't know that I would be able to get there
Yeah.
without doing this. So
I love that you're seeing it that way because, when people think about story broadly, generally, I think they tend to think of it in entertainment value. And obviously it's potent, right? I mean, we're hardwired for it. People love it. They get it all the time, everywhere, every day. However, reframing it and seeing it as, something to be a tool for health is different because, like you say, the story's going on anyway. What is it actually you're saying? How is that story actually unraveling? And this is what you've heard me say many times is that, the truth is on the page. That's why I'm such a stickler for that. It's like people can talk about it all day, but when it's on the page, that's that separation of self in a way. And now it's between you and I. It's like, you could talk about it's like, yeah, well, yes, and what you wrote is this. And then they go, oh, yeah, I did say that, didn't I? And now we have to kind of, deal with that because those words may or may not meet your values. right? They
Yeah.
may just be what you said because, I don't know, you were on autopilot or felt you had to or were supposed to.
Yeah. I think it externalizing in this way is a real helpful tool for perspective taking, and it's I think less vulnerable for most people, right? To see things that we haven't wanted to look at, or when it's written in when you're doing it in this format. So, yeah.
Yeah, me too. I completely agree. And I hope what's in there, the last thing I want to go with is you heard me say it, I believe, in class yesterday, and it's become a big part of who we are as a program, is that those two-word phrases, you belong and have fun. Because
Yeah.
we can look at this, I think, as, there's work and there's this and there's all these heady parts, which you and I both kind of geek out on. We like that. However, if it's not fun, it's hard for a lot of people to go, why would I want to? I've got enough work and challenge in my life. So when we offered that, how do you feel about that, those two-word phrases? And do you think, does it make sense with what we're offering? You belong, have fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of what's healing is, being this sense of belonging that we're talking about, and community, riches, right? You belong. And to have fun. Um, I, I don't know, like it feels like it should be obvious, but I think it helps again build the appreciation that we all have for each other. I don't know. It's just it's part of why we want to show up,
it's
right?
it's difficult that it's not as obvious as it feels like it should be, isn't it? I mean, I
Yeah,
struggle with that too. It's like, what do you, and I don't know how much of that is our family, especially on the Burn side, that just
yeah,
kind of shows up and goes, yep, here we are. And yet, I mean, I know you know too, from enough life experience to know how at least somewhat rare that is, right? That people look at that and go, oh my gosh, you just walked in and started having fun. And you're like, yeah, wasn't that the point?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's so, I mean, back to like well-being, play, leisure, fun is so important.
Yeah.
And we're doing hard work and talking about hard things. And I think whenever you can kind of put the hard stuff and let it sit next to the good stuff, it's easier.
Well, and you just nailed something, and we'll wrap on this, which is the dramatic side, which I know we spoke about before. Are you familiar with the masks of Thespis? Do you know what that is?
No.
There are these two masks, and one's laughing and one's crying, and they're
Oh,
intertwined
okay.
with each other.
Yeah, yeah.
You've seen it.
I've
And,
seen it.
and it's exactly what you just said. And it's the value of this type of work slash play. It's recognizing the yin yang, light, dark, chiaroscuro, however you want to say it, these parts of ourselves that, yeah, put the hard stuff next to the fun stuff and let it rip. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So that is dramatically speaking why a great laugh is so important in the darkest moments.
for
To
sure.
let that roll. Because
Mhm.
I can't thank you enough. This is fantastic. We'll do it again in a couple weeks. See where
I
you're
hope
at.
so.
Okay.
I hope so.
We will. I love you.
Love you too.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.